Japan has produced countless warriors, men who lived by steel, discipline, and the harsh demands of honor. But among all who ever walked its battlefields or trained beneath its temple eaves, one name stands above the rest, a name whispered with reverence among swordsmen, monks, generals, and scholars alike. Miyamoto Musashi, duelist, wanderer, philosopher, a man whose path carved a legend so vast that centuries later his teachings are still studied by martial artists, strategists, CEOs, soldiers, and anyone seeking mastery in the chaos of life. He walked undefeated through more than 60 duels, survived wars that reshaped Japan, toppled entire schools of swordsmanship, and left behind a masterpiece of strategy, the Book of Five Rings. This is the story of the man who became a myth. Welcome to Chronicles and Conquerors, where history's greatest empires, leaders, and battles come to life. From the rise of ancient civilizations to the legends of conquerors who shaped our world, every story here is crafted to inspire, educate, and ignite your curiosity. Subscribe and step into the past to uncover the power, glory, and lessons of history's greatest figures. Musashi's journey began in 1584 in the quiet village of Miyamoto in Miyamosaka province. His life opened with tragedy as his mother died during childbirth, leaving him in the hands of a father whose skill with weapons was legendary, but whose temperament was unforgiving. Shinman Musashi, Musashi's father, was a master of jiu-jitsu and swordsmanship. His reputation was so great that he had once been summoned to perform a series of duels before the shogun himself. He won 2 of the 3 bouts and was awarded the title, but though he possessed unmatched technical precision, he struggled to understand the fierce, restless spirit growing inside his son. Their relationship fractured early. Musashi demanded discipline and obedience. Musashi, even as a child, embodied raw, untamed, talent-defiant, emotional, instinctive. Their arguments escalated into violence. In one heated moment, Musashi hurled a dagger at his son. Musashi survived only because instinct moved faster than fear. The blade struck the wall behind him. At 7 years old, Musashi was cast out of his home. He found refuge with his uncle Ronin, a Buddhist monk whose quiet strength and spiritual discipline contrasted sharply with Musashi's severity. Under Ronin's guidance, Musashi learned to read. He meditated. He practiced writing and calligraphy. And though he absorbed the teachings of the temple, the fire inside him never faded. If anything, it intensified. Outside the temple walls, he spent hours training in ways that would have broken most grown men. He struck tree trunks until his hands split open. He practiced footwork on slick river stones, forcing balance and precision. He ran through forests shadow fighting until his lungs burned. He had no formal teacher, no structured school, only instinct and relentless drive. He was forging himself, shaping his own style through effort, repetition, and sheer will. At age 13, fate came to meet him. A traveling samurai named Arima Kihei arrived in the area and issued a public challenge, inviting anyone brave enough to face him. What Kihei received instead was a boy. Musashi stepped forward without bowing, without speaking, without hesitation. The crowd gasped. Kihei intended to teach him a lesson, but Musashi didn't give him the chance. Before the seasoned warrior could properly draw his weapon, the boy charged with a long wooden staff. It was a crude weapon, but in Musashi's hands it became lethal. He tackled Kihei, threw him to the ground, and beat him to death. The crowd was stunned. The victory was not elegant. It was violent, raw, and visceral. But it was victory and the first spark of a legend that would burn for centuries. In the years that followed, Musashi fought more than 60 duels and killed between 30 and 60 opponents. He never recorded a single defeat. His name alone became enough to make challengers reconsider their courage. Many fled before the fight even began. A few years after his first duel, Musashi left the temple and briefly joined a military campaign, where he experienced warfare on a scale unlike anything he had seen. The chaos, the screams, the clash of armies shaped his understanding of combat beyond the narrow confines of dueling. He learned to read crowds, to anticipate threats from all sides, to survive not just single opponents but swarms of them. Battle deepened him, yet his rise to national recognition would begin in Kyoto, with the fall of the great Yoshioka school of swordsmanship. For generations, the Yoshioka family had been the official instructors of the Ashikaga shoguns. They were aristocratic, esteemed, and deeply proud. Musashi, by contrast, was a vagabond warrior with no school and no wealth, only reputation and audacity. In 1604, he challenged the head of the Yoshioka school, Yoshioka Seiri. Musashi arrived intentionally late, a tactic he would perfect throughout his life. The delay eroded Seiri's focus, stirred his anger, and broke his composure before their blades ever met. In a single swift strike with a wooden sword, Musashi shattered Seiri's arm. The blow ended the man's career and humiliated the school. Denchichira, Sidro's brother, demanded vengeance. Musashi accepted. This duel ended with another powerful wooden sword strike, this time fatal. With 2 defeats in a row, the Yoshioka family was desperate. The only remaining heir was a 12-year-old boy, and the retainers decided that honor demanded action. They planned an ambush. Dozens, perhaps more than 100 armed men hid among the pines outside. Miyamoto Musashi arrived with 2 wooden swords in his hands. When the trap was sprung, he cut down the boy, then carved a path through the attackers, escaping into the wilderness before they could overwhelm him. In a single sequence of battles, Musashi destroyed a school that had dominated Kyoto for over a century. From that moment forward, he was considered Japan's greatest living swordsman. He wandered the country seeking challenges. In Nara, he fought the spear-wielding monks of the Heiswen school of fierce contests that ended without any true victor. In Aido, he opened a dojo attracting students and admirers from across the capital. Even the shogun noticed him. But Musashi refused to join the Yagib clan, who served as the shogun's official swordmasters and also happened to be rivals of his father's lineage. Every decision he made followed his own rhythm. Eventually, he left Edo behind and walked toward the duel that would define his myth forever. On Funoshima Island, he was to face Sasaki Kojiro, a master of the Nodachi, a massive, elegant blade nicknamed the Giant Pole. Their duel became one of Japan's greatest legends. Musashi once again arrived late. He carved a wooden sword from a boat oar and boarded the beach with deliberate calm and stared down Kojiro, enraged. Kojiro launched forward with a sweeping strike meant to kill instantly. Musashi stepped inside the attack and delivered a single, devastating blow, and Kojiro collapsed. With that victory, Musashi stepped into immortality. But Musashi's genius extended far beyond the arena of single combat. He refined his philosophy into a fighting system called two heavens as one, using both katana and wakizashi at once. It was radical. Most schools forbade dual wielding, calling it reckless. Musashi's sword as liberation. Two swords used independently yet harmoniously allowed a fighter to disrupt rhythm, control distance, and create psychological pressure that overwhelmed opponents. Arriving late, staring silently, appearing unkempt, Musashi weaponized perception and fear just as effectively as steel. To him, ruggedity was death. Adaptability was life. His style is still practiced worldwide. Though best known as a duelist, Musashi also fought in some of Japan's most significant military campaigns. During the Osaka Campaigns of 1614 to 1615, when the Tokugawa shogunate sought to eliminate the last remnants of the Toyotomi clan, Musashi joined his former student Mizuno Katsunari. He served as an elite escort for the young lord under Mizuno's care. On the battlefield, he fought on bridges, knocking enemies into rivers. He conducted night operations, navigated snow-covered terrain, and excelled in chaotic, multi-opponent combat. The campaigns ultimately unified Japan under Tokugawa rule. In 1638, a massive Christian uprising erupted at Hara Castle during the Shimabara Rebellion. Musashi, now in his 50s, served in a Tokugawa command role. He protected Ogasawara Tadesane's son, endured intense enemy fire near the castle walls, deflected falling stones with his staff, and advised troops on siege tactics. Even in old age, his calm under pressure demeanor commanded respect, but Musashi's heart revealed itself most clearly through the children he adopted. During the Osaka campaigns, his comrade Nakagawa Shimanosuke fell in battle, leaving behind an 11-year-old boy named Mikinosuke. Musashi adopted him and raised him as his own. Years later, when Mikinosuke's lord died, the young man was expected to commit ritual suicide. Musashi was devastated. Eventually, he adopted another boy, Yori, who rose to prominence as a senior retainer in the Ogasawara clan. Musashi moved to Kyushu to remain near him, establishing a dojo where students traveled from across Japan to study under the legendary master. By the 1640s, Musashi was more than a warrior, he was a symbol. Living under Lord Hosokawa Tadatoshi in Kumamoto, his calligraphy and painting were celebrated as much as his martial skill. But he sought solitude. He retreated to the cave of Rigondo, a rocky hollow overlooking a valley, where he meditated and practiced in silence. There in 1645, he wrote Goran no Sho, the Book of Five Rings, divided into 5 scrolls. It explained the fundamentals of combat, adaptability, timing, critique of competing schools, and finally the void pure awareness, a state beyond technique. Few texts across history blend war, leadership, and philosophy so seamlessly. Shortly after completing the book, Musashi sensed the end approaching. He returned to his residence outside Kumamoto Castle, sitting upright in meditation, his weapons beside him. He passed quietly on June 13, 1645. He was 61 years old, unbroken, undefeated, unmatched, a memorial mound. Musashizuka was raised near his home, where travelers dismounted from their horses for generations to honor him. Thus ends the tale of Miyamoto Musashi, undefeated duelist, wandering Ronin, and the master of two blades. His path was carved in steel, yet his legacy endures in wisdom. If you enjoyed this episode, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more.